indeed one of the big concerns. And I'm not just saying this in the case of Sidharth because frankly, with respect to his family, friends, we don't know enough. But the fact is, this young generation is hugely stressed, whether you're on Bollywood, whether you're on TV, whether you're in a corporate life, you know, especially with what's happened in the pandemic, the last 2 years has added to the stress, and that just brings out the problems associated with the kind of lives all of us lead.
Rahul, I can't hear you too clearly. I hope I'm audible.
We hear you fine. Please go on, doctor.
Fantastic. Okay, so I believe you asked me about stress. Now, of course, not talking about Sidharth per se, because we don't know enough and we don't know about his life exactly. But, you know, I deal with a lot of people in his industry very closely. And I can tell you, they have fairly bad lifestyles and their stress levels are very, very high. And they resort very often to smoking and supplements and wrong supplementations because it's their way of alleviating stress and their way of dealing with it, which is incorrect. So, you know, stress levels will increase your cortisol levels, will increase your blood sugar, will reduce your immunity. And if you think then working out in a gym, and again, this is nothing to do with Sidharth at all, just generally speaking, you know, working out and building muscle, like Dr. Shet said, is going to nullify that effect. No, it's not. The best way to actually take care of stress is probably through meditation, not something that's going to make a physical difference. So most people don't like to, you know, invest time doing that. But I tell every single patient of mine in COVID, post-COVID, irrespective whether they're in the glamour industry, CEOs, you must spend 20 minutes a day just reducing that stress level. Sadly, there are very few medical, you know, blood tests that we can do to measure a stress level. By the time it's manifested in dyslipidemias or heart disease, it may be too late. So we believe in preventive medicine. Prevent that from happening. If you know your lifestyle is very stressful, deal with it. Don't wait for a problem to happen. So there are ways, even with supplements, there are ways that we can, you know, we can reduce your stress levels. But it has to be addressed. Sadly, it's so cosmetic in, you know, in our world, Bollywood or otherwise, that people are so just involved in looking at, do we have a six-pack? Or, you know, do we look a particular way? Is my skin color a certain, you know, they're taking glutathione injections? That people forget to do preventive health checkups, forget that smoking is going to make a difference, stress is going to make a difference to their health, but it all needs to be addressed. And in the attempt to gain a six-pack or to look a certain way, supplements are taken left, right, and center, misuse of supplements. Sometimes those supplements, Dr. Shet will also, I'm sure, agree with me, can actually even cause heart issues. Even in COVID, we've seen people who have taken vitamin D, something as simple as vitamin D, left, right, and center, and they've taken calcium. Now with people who have a high calcium scoring in their heart, and if you are going to be indiscriminately taking lots of calcium, lots of vitamin D, and you're going to get toxicity and you don't know about it, we know that high levels of calcium, very high levels of vitamin D can cause cardiac arrhythmias. They can cause cardiovascular disease. We know that smoking increases the risk of heart disease by 4 times. Dr. Shivdasani just said we are probably, you know, we've got maximum chances of heart disease. But the fact is we are also the diabetic capital of the world. And that also contributes to the heart disease. So it has to be addressed. And in our country, I feel that preventive medicine is not something that we look at. We address a problem once it's happened. But why wait to escalate for something to happen? In his case, it's really sad that we couldn't do anything about it because it was the first and the last event. It was fatal, which typically we see in younger individuals because they don't have what we call a collateral circulation. So very often the collateral circulation in the heart is in 60s and 70s, and those are the people who can withstand a heart attack, and they're the ones who will have a second and a third one, and they get luckier. But in 40s,
I'm sorry, if you were to leave the medical jargon aside, could you just explain what that means? Why is it that if you're 60 and 70, you have a second or a third heart attack, and when you're younger, that's not likely?
Okay, so you have what's called a collateral circulation, which means we've got 3 main blood vessels to the heart, and then we've got smaller blood vessels to supply the heart, right? And those smaller blood vessels will, you know, if the major blood vessel is blocked, when you're in the 40s, you don't have the smaller blood vessels to supply blood to the heart. As a result, when you have a block, there is no blood supply, and that's it. It's a massive attack, and you go into a cardiac arrest. When you're older, you have these smaller blood vessels that have formed. So even if the major blood vessel is blocked, you still have the smaller blood vessels that can protect you. Dr. Sheth, would you agree with me?
Well,